The night shines like gold poured from the heavens. Drums mix with soft jazz as laughter fills the air. The rich and powerful gather beneath glowing chandeliers, their eyes fixed on the woman who stands at the center of it all, graceful, strong, the image of success. Every camera turns toward her, every whisper carries her name. The people smile, clap, and raise their glasses, calling her the queen of business, the woman who built her empire from nothing. None notice the shadow that stands quietly by the door. Outside the hall, near the grand entrance, a man in a faded uniform watches. His eyes move with quiet alertness, though his shoulders bend from long days and longer nights. Voices drift toward him, sharp, careless. He's just a gate boy. What's he doing here? Does he even belong inside? Laughter follows, loud and cruel. He lowers his eyes, saying nothing. His hands tighten around the small radio he carries, but his face stays calm. Beneath the noise and mockery, his heart listens. Not to the crowd, but to something else, something faint and wrong. Then the sound comes. A sudden cry cuts through the music. A woman's voice, sharp, frightened. Heads turn. The dancers freeze. The air grows thick with confusion. What happened? Someone shouts. All eyes swing toward the stage where the queen herself stands, startled, her smile fading. Before anyone understands, the man by the door moves. He drops the radio, pushes through the guards, and runs toward the noise. Stop that man! The guards yell. Guests step back in shock, their jewels flashing under the lights as he rushes forward. The musicians stop playing. The laughter dies. Only the echo of his footsteps fills the hall. He reaches her. Without a word, he takes her by the shoulders. Gasps rise from every corner. And then, it happens. He presses his lips to hers. A wave of screams ripples through the crowd. Phones rise, cameras click, lights burst like lightning. The world freezes in that single heartbeat. The queen, standing frozen in his arms, the crowd in stunned silence, and the poor man they all mocked becoming the center of every eye. In that stillness, time holds its breath. The music stops. The night that began with laughter now trembles on the edge of chaos, and no one, not a single soul, knows that the kiss they call madness has just saved a life. The crowd stands frozen. Then a voice cracks through the air, sharp and loud. How dare you! The next sound comes fast and hard. Slap! The noise echoes like thunder. The air shakes. The man's head jerks to the side, his cheek blazing red. Gasps rush through the room. Murmurs rise. Madness! Arrest him! He's lost his mind. The music stops. Eyes turn, hands point. Pride burns hotter than shame. The woman breathes fast, her fury bright and trembling. The man stays still, his hands open, his chest rising slow. Guards push forward, grabbing his arms. The crowd yells louder, calling him a fool, a nobody. The queen of wealth steps closer, voice sharp as fire. Who gave you the right? Who told you to touch me? He doesn't answer. His mouth moves, but no sound comes. His lips shake, his eyes deep and still. He looks not at her but through her, as if something unseen holds his gaze. Speak, someone shouts. Say something. Nothing, only silence. It spreads through the hall, strange and heavy. His silence becomes louder than their anger. His body trembles, but not from fear. There is something else, something hidden, burning quietly inside him. Then, the world slows. The noise fades. Every voice falls silent. A calm, ancient voice begins to speak. Everyone thought the poor man had lost his mind. But what no one knew was that the kiss they called madness had just saved her life. The air changes. The crowd stops breathing. Eyes that once glared now fill with confusion. What does he mean? Someone whispers. Saved her life? But no one answers. Only silence answers back. Somewhere beyond the golden lights, a shadow moves. It glides fast, unseen. A faint glint flashes. A small metallic shape catches the light, then disappears. No one notices. No one turns. The danger slips away like smoke. The calm voice returns, softer now, steady and wise. In a world where pride speaks louder than truth, sometimes silence guards the living, and the night swallows the noise again. The voice of the storyteller deepens, steady and calm. To understand what really happened that day, let's go back a few weeks earlier. The sound of drums grows, slow and rhythmic, like the heart of the land speaking through time. The world shifts. The noise of the gala fades away. Dust replaces gold. Laughter turns to the cry of morning birds. A door rattles. A voice screams, sharp and angry. "You think this is a charity house?" The door bursts open. Bags fly out. A man stumbles after them. "Please give me one more week," he pleads. "Just one more." The woman folds her arms. "1 week? You've been saying that for 2 months." "Pay or go!" His words fall flat. She kicks his bag again, scattering papers into the street. Neighbors gather. Some whisper. Some shake their heads. Others laugh, covering their mouths. "See this one," someone says. "Always walking with big grammar but no rent money." "Ah, university boy," another mocks. "Your degree no fit pay bills?" He bends down, picking up the papers one by one. Dust clings to his hands. On one paper, bold letters read, Bachelor of Science, Computer Science, University of Ibadan. He stares at it for a long moment, his lips trembling. "So this is what my degree brought me?" He murmurs. A motorbike slows beside him. The rider chuckles. "My brother dream no day feed man. Go find work." The bike roars away, leaving a trail of smoke and laughter. He watches it fade, his jaw tight, his eyes heavy. Around him, children chase each other through the dust, carefree and loud. The sun beats hard. Life moves on, but he stands still, a man between what was promised and what is left. Then, slowly, he folds the paper and presses it to his chest. His voice comes out low, like a vow. "I won't die in the dust." The drums rise again, stronger this time, echoing courage and pain in equal rhythm. The storyteller's voice returns, rich and certain. And so began the journey of a man the world ignored. Yet fate had already chosen for greatness. The sky darkens, and the air grows quiet. A small phone vibrates beside a worn mat. He picks it up, heart beating fast. A distant voice speaks, calm and official. "We found your application. Report tomorrow. Gateman position, Nenatech Estate, Lekki." For a moment, silence. Then a long breath escapes him. His eyes close, torn between laughter and tears. "So after all this, I'm to guard another man's gate." He stares at the phone again, the faint glow reflecting in his eyes. Still, a beginning is better than nothing. Morning comes bright and sharp. The road leads to a gate so tall it touches the sun. The marble glitters. The air smells of money. He stands still, whispering, "So people live like this?" A man in uniform steps forward, eyes cold. "You're late." Madam hates late people. He lowers his head quickly. "Sorry, sir." You better learn fast," the man mutters and waves him inside. Then comes the sound of tires, smooth and powerful. A red car glides in like royalty. The door opens. Out steps a woman dressed in wealth itself, glasses dark as night, heels clicking on the floor like thunder. Her gaze sweeps over him, slow and sharp. "This is the new gateman?" she says. He already looks tired. "Sorry, Ma," comes a soft reply, barely heard. She turns, her perfume trailing behind like a mark of class and distance. Another car door shuts. Laughter follows. A man walks up with easy pride, his smile dripping with mockery. "Madam," he says, "where do you find these broke souls? They'll steal gate bolts next." The words sting, but he stays silent. His hands tighten at his sides, but his head stays bowed. The man laughs again, loud enough for everyone to hear. The woman says nothing. The sound of their footsteps fades. Night falls again. The compound grows quiet. Under a weak bulb, he sits on a small stool, a torn notebook on his lap. His pen moves fast, lines of numbers and symbols filling the page. "One day I'll build something big," he whispers. Laughter echoes from the guards nearby. "Code? You better code how to open the gate fast," one shouts. Another laughs louder. "Yes-o? Code yourself some food first." He smiles faintly and keeps writing. His hands don't stop, his eyes don't lift. The bulb flickers, the night deepens, but the fire in his heart burns steady. Flickers, the night deepens, but the fire in his heart burns steady. The storyteller's voice returns, low and certain. In a world where pride walks tall, the humble plant seeds unseen. But one day, those seeds will break the earth and touch the sky. Whispers moved like smoke through the mansion. Soft voices rose near the water tank. "Madam's company dey lose money-o. She dey shout every day." Another voice joined, sharper. "She no trust anybody again, even her man." Laughter followed, short and nervous. A quiet figure passed nearby carrying a bucket, pretending not to hear. But his ears caught every word. His eyes narrowed, and something inside him began to turn like a locked door finding its key. Inside the big house, a storm brewed louder than thunder. "Who is stealing from me? Millions can't just disappear." Her voice cracked through the air. A loud bang followed as she slammed her laptop shut. Moments later, a smooth voice slipped into the room, calm and sweet. "Calm down, baby. I'll handle it." A hand rested on her shoulder, but the smile behind it stayed too long, like a shadow refusing to leave when the sun is bright. Night came, heavy and quiet. The mansion fell into darkness as the lights blinked out. Someone cursed under their breath. He moved quickly, joining a technician by the gate. "Generator no grease start," the man muttered. Fingers tapped across the dusty control board. Wires clicked, a button flashed, and suddenly the whole estate lit up again. The technician stared wide-eyed. "You sure you be gateman? You sabi computer like engineer." The other man only smiled faintly and looked away. As the hum of power returned, footsteps echoed near the garage. A voice whispered into the dark. "She suspects nothing. Just transfer the next batch quietly." He stopped moving. The words hung in the air, heavy with danger. He stayed hidden, breath low, eyes cold. Something dark was happening behind the golden walls, and he had just touched the edge of it. Then came the voice, deep, ancient, knowing. He was hired to guard the gate, but fate was about to make him guard something much greater. Drums rolled softly in the distance, slow and deep, as if the earth itself was listening. Destiny had begun to stir. The night carried a strange silence, heavy and restless. From the far end of the corridor came a soft cry, broken by trembling words. "They're stealing everything I worked for. I can't trust anyone anymore." The voice cracked again, filled with fear. A shadow stood by the gate, listening. The sound pulled something inside him, not pity but purpose. He looked up at the dark sky, eyes reflecting both worry and thought. Her words would not leave his mind. They rolled around in his head like echoes refusing to fade. Stealing everything? He knew that sound, the slow crawl of lost data, the hidden flow of stolen work. He whispered to himself, "That sounds like code injection. Inside work." His old phone felt warm in his hand as he held it tighter. The gate, the job, the long nights, they all seemed to fade as his mind sparked alive again. When morning broke, anger ruled the air. She marched past the gate, phone in hand, her voice sharp with rage. Another alert! Another loss! The world around her trembled, but he stepped forward. "Madam, if you'll allow me, I can trace the breach." The words fell bold and clear. She stopped, turned, and stared as if she had seen a ghost. Then came the sound, short, bitter laughter. "You? A gateman? Please, face your gate!" Another voice joined, loud and mocking. "He just wants to touch your laptop, Ma. Maybe he'll sell it for scrap." Laughter spread like fire among the guards. He stood still, eyes fixed ahead, hands clenched behind his back. When the noise faded, he simply nodded once and said, "As you wish, Ma." Then he turned, silent as stone, the laughter still ringing in the air behind him. Night returned with its quiet power. The moon watched as he sat under its pale light, old phone in hand. His fingers moved fast, connecting to the mansion's Wi-Fi like a hunter setting traps. "You think I don't know code?" he whispered. "Let's see who's really stealing." The screen lit up, lines of data running wild, glowing against the dark. His eyes never blinked, his breath steady. In that moment, the gatekeeper was gone, and the coder was reborn. His secret mission had begun. Days moved like restless shadows. The air inside the compound grew heavy with quiet suspicion. He noticed the same pattern again and again, a man stepping away to whisper into his phone, face half hidden, eyes darting around like a thief in daylight. Each time footsteps approached, the phone vanished into his pocket, messages erased in haste, screen locked tight. Nothing looked normal anymore. Watching had become his silent duty, and every movement fed the fire in his chest. Something was not right. The tension broke one morning like thunder. A sharp crash echoed through the mansion, glass shattering, voice rising with fury. "Another 5 million gone? What kind of curse is this?" Fear followed the sound, soft and trembling. "Madam, even IT can't find the hole." The words only made the silence worse. Then came a smooth voice, calm and gentle. "Baby, don't worry. You'll get it back." But when her eyes turned away, a hidden smile slipped through, quiet and poisonous. Night fell again, but peace refused to come. She walked out slowly, her face marked with tears and exhaustion. The world around her felt too heavy to hold. She saw him by the gate, still awake, eyes steady as ever. Her voice broke, soft and desperate. "You said you could fix it. Please. This is my last hope." For a moment, he said nothing. Then he rose, firm and calm. "Yes, Ma. Let me try." Inside his small room, the world shrank to the glow of a lantern and the hum of a laptop beside his old phone. His fingers moved fast, chasing lines of code that twisted like snakes. Hours slipped away as sweat fell down his face. His lips moved without sound. Almost there. The codes responded like spirits obeying a call. Then suddenly everything stopped. His eyes widened as the data trails formed one name, one truth he had feared to see. "Chica!" The whisper broke the silence. Screenshots saved on their own, proof sealed and alive. The hunter had found his prey, but destiny had its own timing. The door burst open with a violent sound. A voice filled the room, sharp and angry. "Why is this man touching your files, Nena?" Shock flashed across her face, fear tangled with confusion. The air turned tense, too thick to breathe. He moved fast, closing the laptop and holding it tight against his chest. The truth was in his hands now, and danger was standing at the door. The moment exploded like thunder. He snatched the laptop with wild force, shouting words sharp as knives. "This fool is spying on you. Don't you see he's after your money too?" His voice cut through the air, filling the room with poison. She turned, eyes burning with confusion and betrayal. "Get out!" "I trusted you." The words struck deep, heavier than any blow. He tried to speak, voice shaking. "Ma, please just listen." But she raised her hand, her anger final. "Enough! Leave my compound!" The gatekeeper's heart clenched, but his lips stayed sealed. Some truths could not be forced. They had to reveal themselves. The gate closed behind him with a sound that felt like thunder fading into night. He walked slowly down the dusty path, the mansion's golden lights glowing faintly in the distance. The laughter inside sounded far away, like another world. He stopped once, looked back, and whispered to the wind, "Truth doesn't die. It waits." The night carried his words, quiet and strong. Before the guards had led him away, his hands had already done what his heart demanded. A small flash drive hidden in his pocket carried everything, every secret, every proof, every stolen dream. He lifted it once under the starlight. "When the right time comes, you'll know, madam." The stars seemed to blink in answer, as if the ancestors themselves had heard. Days later, drums rolled through the evening sky. The mansion glittered with celebration. Banners of victory stretched across the hall, gold and white under the glow of bright lights. The crowd sang praises, their voices full of pride and envy. "Tonight, she will change everything," whispered the reporters, pens ready, cameras flashing. She smiled on stage, dressed in wealth and power, but her eyes carried a shadow the lights could not hide. Outside the gate, someone waited in silence. A brown envelope pressed tightly against his chest, his heart beating with purpose. "I must give her the proof before it's too late," he muttered under his breath. One guard eyed him with suspicion, but, distracted by the noise of celebration, stepped aside. He slipped through the crowd unnoticed, moving like a ghost carrying destiny in his hands. Moving like a ghost carrying destiny in his hands. High above, hidden from the lights and music, darkness plotted its move. On a lonely balcony corner, a whisper slithered through the air. "When she speaks my name, end it." The voice was calm, confident, deadly. Another man nodded from the shadows, assembling cold metal beneath the heavy curtain. The parts clicked together, smooth and precise. Below them, laughter and drums drowned the danger that was already taking aim. The night held its breath, waiting for fate to decide whose truth would rise and whose would fall. The drums rose like thunder, shaking the air with rhythm and pride. The crowd moved as one, their feet pounding to the beat, their voices blending with the music that filled the night. Colors flashed beneath the lights, bright, proud, alive. The music spoke of victory, of promises kept and dreams rebuilt. Then, silence began to fall like a slow wave. The crowd turned as she stepped forward, her royal blue shining under the lights. Cameras flashed, catching her calm smile. Her hands lifted slightly, the hall holding its breath. "Tonight, I thank those who stood by truth," she said, her voice strong and sure. The words struck deep, stirring whispers among the people. Truth had cost her much, and they all knew it. Yet here she stood, unbroken, shining. The drums answered softly, echoing her courage. She paused, her eyes moving across the crowd. "And today," she continued, her smile widening, "I will introduce the man who saved my company." Gasps filled the room. Heads turned. "Who could it be?" Voices murmured. Curiosity rippled through the crowd like a wave. Every eye searched, waiting for the mystery to unfold. From the back of the hall, a figure began to move through the lights. The steps were slow but steady, each one pulling the crowd deeper into silence. The whispers grew louder now. "Isn't that the man she fired?" someone said, disbelief thick in the air. Her eyes caught his. For a moment, everything froze. Surprise flickered, then something softer, guilt, maybe even regret. The noise around them faded. All that remained was the space between their hearts. As he neared, the light shifted, and a faint red glow trembled across her chest. His breath caught. His eyes widened. The truth struck him like lightning, danger, death. It was there, waiting, aimed, unseen by all but him. "No, no," he breathed, his voice low, desperate. His pulse roared in his ears. There was no time to think. He moved. Swift as the wind, he crossed the last steps and reached for her. His hands gripped her shoulders, pulling her close. For a heartbeat, the world seemed to stop. Their faces met, close enough for the crowd to gasp. His lips brushed hers, soft, sudden, fearless. Then the gunfire cracked. The sound tore through the music, through the cheers, through the night itself. The bullet screamed past, cutting the air where she had stood a second before. Gasps turned to screams. Panic rippled. But she was safe, shaken, trembling, alive. In that instant, as the echoes faded, no one knew if the kiss had been love, fate, or sacrifice. But all understood. It had changed everything. The night that began with music would be remembered for silence and a single act of courage that saved the truth. Screams tore through the hall. The crowd broke like a wave, people dropping to the floor, clutching one another. Cameras flashed wildly, blinding lights catching faces frozen in shock. The kiss burned in every frame, fear, confusion, sacrifice, captured forever. "Gun! Someone's shooting!" Voices cried out, rising above the chaos. Panic spread fast, boots and heels striking the ground like drums of war. The sound of breaking glass echoed, mixing with shouts and cries. The gunman hissed under his breath, his hands shaking. The shot had missed. He cursed and tried to reload, but the crowd surged forward. Dozens of people screamed and stumbled, blocking his view, turning his clean strike into madness. The shadows moved against him. Every direction was danger now. He slipped backward, melting into the confusion. But the noise betrayed him. Someone shouted, "There!" There he is! And all eyes turned. Above them, a furious voice cracked through the air. Finish them both! The command burned like fire. Heads jerked upward. The upper balcony glowed under flashing lights, and the crowd saw him standing there, his mask gone, his face bare. Gasps rippled like thunder. Fingers pointed. It's him! He planned this, someone shouted. The roar grew stronger, louder, united. Cameras swung toward the balcony, every lens capturing the truth he could no longer hide. Security stormed the stairs, their feet pounding like drums of judgment. The man turned to run, but his foot slipped on the polished floor. He crashed down hard, pain and fear twisting his face. Hands grabbed him, holding him tight as the crowd rose in a chant that shook the room. Justice! 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 Below, the woman stood trembling, still caught in the arms that had saved her life. Papers burst from the envelope she had dropped, fluttering across the floor like white birds. Numbers, seals, signatures, all of them lies. The truth lay bare for all to see. Gasps filled the air again. The giant screen flickered, flashing the stolen deals, the fake contracts, the theft that had nearly destroyed her company. The crowd roared in disbelief and fury. Reporters rushed forward, shouting over one another. He saved her life! Someone cried. Tears shimmered in her eyes. Her voice broke as she whispered, and I almost destroyed his. The drums of chaos slowed. The echoes of fear faded into silence. But what remained, truth, courage, and redemption, would be told for generations, as every true African tale must be. Confusion and breath clashed within him as he stared at her, unsure if what had just happened was real. Around them, the hall trembled with sound. Cheers, shouts, the thunder of clapping hands. Phones rose like stars, capturing the moment that would soon circle the whole world. The drums returned, slow and heavy, each beat like the voice of destiny calling through the noise. Something ancient moved in the air, something that spoke of fate turning full circle. The crowd's joy melted into a quiet hush. Under the bright lights, both stood still, neither speaking, neither moving. The night had given its truth, the lies had fallen, and justice had found its name. But what had begun in anger and mistrust was now only beginning to show its true path. The world around them shifted, whispering that every ending is only the start of another tale. Sirens cut through the air, sharp and sure. The officers led the fallen man away, his wrists bound in iron. The inspector's voice carried over the murmuring crowd. So it was you all along. There was no answer. Only the sound of feet dragging and shame hanging thick like dust after a storm. The proud head that once looked down on others now hung low before truth's eyes. The people cried out, their voices strong with fire. Let the greedy pay! Some clapped, others held up their phones, recording justice being written in real time. The village drums began again, not for dance this time, but for truth. Slow, deep beats rolled across hearts, reminding all that no secret stays buried forever. Reporters pushed forward, their flashes bright like lightning. Madam, how do you feel? They called. Her chest rose and fell. Her words came soft but strong. Ashamed, she said, but also grateful. Her gaze searched through the crowd, searching for the one who had stood firm when all else had fallen. And then, like a spark in dry grass, his name began to spread. First whispered, then shouted, then sung. The news flashed everywhere. Poor gateman saved billionaire boss. Children ran through the streets, chanting his name with joy. The old women at the market nodded and said, That boy's mother raised him well. The story that began with betrayal ended with honor. The drums spoke one last time that night, reminding all who listened, the hand that serves with truth will one day stand taller than gold. She stepped forward, her face lit by the bright lights, her voice trembling yet firm. Forgive me, Toby. I judged you by your clothes, not your heart. The crowd fell silent. Even the cameras seemed to hold their breath. Her words carried weight, like rain falling on dry ground, soft yet full of power. Pride had broken, and truth had found its voice. For a moment, all eyes turned toward him. He bowed his head humbly. "We all learn, Ma. I only did what was right." His words rolled through the air like an old proverb, short, calm, yet rich with wisdom. The people nodded among themselves, their hearts moved. The humble had spoken with the strength of 10 chiefs. Tears glistened as she smiled through them. "From today," she declared, "Toby will be head of cybersecurity at this company." The hall erupted. Gasps, cheers, and claps rose together like thunder before rain. The same mouths that once mocked his uniform now shouted his name with joy. Among the crowd, investors leaned close to one another, whispering. "If this is the kind of loyalty you build," one said, "we're all in." Pens moved, papers signed, cameras flashed like lightning. The hall glowed with renewed faith. The fall of lies had birthed a new dawn. Soon, the news spread across airwaves and phones. "Nenatech rebounds stronger than ever," anchors announced with pride. Workers danced in the streets, waving flags marked with the company's logo. The air felt lighter, washed clean of deceit. Even the old janitors smiled, saying, "This is what truth does. It may sleep, but it never dies." As chants filled the air, he stood quietly, eyes soft, lips curved into the first true smile in a long while. The people around him sang his name, their joy loud and free. Someone whispered with pride, "From gate to greatness." And so, the tale of the gatekeeper who guarded truth became the story the whole land would remember. The air settled after the storm of cheers. The people watched in silence as wisdom returned to its home. A gentle voice broke through the calm. "Sometimes God hides diamonds in dust." The words floated like smoke, soft yet deep. The man beside her bowed his head. His eyes carried no pride, only strength born from pain and patience. The drums began again, slow and steady, beating like a heart that had learned peace. Each sound carried a lesson, reminding all who listened that greatness often comes from places unseen. The crowd swayed to the rhythm, their faces calm, their hearts full. The land itself seemed to nod in agreement. Then the elder stepped forward, his staff high above his head. "May truth always rise, even in the dark." His voice rolled across the gathering like thunder after rain. "Amen," the people answered, their voices rising together as one. The ground felt alive beneath their feet, echoing the promise they had spoken. Light dimmed, and silence followed. The two stood side by side, no longer master and servant, no longer pride and humility, just equals bound by truth. The drums whispered one last beat. Darkness folded around them as words shimmered in the air. True worth is never worn, it's shown. Far away, the drums began once more. Their rhythms spread through the village like breath after a long silence. The storyteller's voice rose above the sound. The same gate they mocked became the gate of their salvation. Images of the past came alive again. A man in torn clothes, sweeping dust beneath a fine car. Laughter in the air. Cruel, careless, loud. But now, the same hands that held the broom had lifted a broken company to glory. The voice spoke again, strong and sure. They laughed at his sweat, but not at his strength. The crowd fell silent, and then applause rose like rain breaking the dry season. An elder lifted his staff once more. "Never look down on anyone," he said. "The one you despise today might save you tomorrow." Murmurs filled the air as heads bowed in respect. Wisdom had spoken and the people understood. The drums answered one last time, deep and full, sealing the story forever within the heart of the land. The sun rested easy above the land, watching a quiet smile form on his face as small hands reached for help. The broken tablet flickered weakly, its screen cracked like old glass. "Try again," he said gently. The child pressed a button and light came alive once more. Laughter burst out, pure and proud. He smiled wider, handing the tablet back. "Wisdom and kindness," the voice whispered through the air. "Don't wear fine clothes. They live in humble hearts." The story spread faster than the wind. In the tall building where pride once walked, a new spirit ruled. She moved through the halls, greeting even those who once hid from her gaze. "Every hand has value," she said with calm strength. "Pride only blinds the wise." The people clapped, their faces bright with respect. Laughter echoed against the walls that had once known only silence. Change had come, and it came with grace. Days passed, and the gate once feared stood tall again. The same hands that once opened it in shame now opened it with pride. The fine suit shone under the light, but his heart stayed the same, steady, kind, and true. He smiled at the guests, the same gentle way he always had. The voice returned, soft as a prayer. He still guards the gate, but now he guards it with honor. The drums began to fade, slower with each beat. The wind carried the last words like a mother's song. A good heart may wear dust, but it shines brighter than gold. The people listened, quiet and still. Each word settled deep, like seeds waiting for rain. Then the voice turned warm, wrapping the tale in peace. His courage turned shame into glory. His story reminds us, destiny favors the humble. A gentle beat followed, soft and final. Share this tale, the voice said, and return for more stories of justice, destiny, and redemption. The drums fell silent, but the lesson stayed. Strong, living, eternal. Eternal.